the sky is clearer than the oceans because nothing called as the sky actually exists. The sky is the sum total of the emptiness of the universe. So, the clearer you are, that means the more empty you are. And the clearest person, smartest person is one who does not exist. So that forms the basis of my talk. Losing your mind is a good idea. What is the mind? The mind is basically just a construct of thoughts, a construct of different ideas, a lot of conditioning, what's been put into us by ourselves, by our society, by the people around us, what we think is right, what we think is wrong, what we have to do, what we should not do. And this forms the basis of all the decisions that we make, right? So, Mushin Noshin. It's the Japanese warrior's way of saying, stop being yourself. And once you stop being yourself, you can be the best warrior that can be, right? So, when I mean stop being yourself, it does not mean that I forget I'm Bala. That cannot happen, right? So I'll have to talk here about the 5 koshas. In Vedanta, there's something called as koshas. Kosha means basically simple, it's just the body. So you're supposed to have 5 bodies. The first one is called Annamaya kosha. Annam is food. So the body that is made up of food is Annamaya kosha. And then you have something called as the Pranamaya kosha. Loosely translated, you could say prana is oxygen, right? So food is what sustains us. It's what given us is the body. And to make this body run, obviously you need oxygen, right? And I mean, of course, prana is a little bit more. It's not just oxygen. But then you have the oxygen that runs your body. And then you have something called as Manomaya kosha. Manas means basically your mind, right? So you have the Manomaya kosha. And then you have something called as the Vijnanamaya kosha, which means the body of intelligence or science. And finally, you have the Anandamaya kosha, which basically is your own true self or the body of happiness or joy or eternity or whatever. So what is the no mind? Basically, the more conditioned we are, the lesser is our productivity. The less is what we can think. So let me explain this very, very simply through the mechanism of serendipity, right? So we all know that some of the biggest innovations, some of the best ideas in the world were born when people had absolutely no idea of what they were doing. So how did this work, right? Let's take Archimedes. The guy was supposed to find out a crown, whether it was made of solid gold or the gold was not as pure as it was meant to be. There's no way he could do that without destroying the crown. So what did he do? The guy goes to take a bath. He sits inside a nice bathtub and suddenly he has an idea of inspiration. He has an inspiration. He gets up butt naked and starts running on the roads saying, Eureka, Eureka. I mean, we all heard the story, right? So what exactly happened? The guy was in the tub. He forgot about his first body, the Annamaya kosha, and then he was not focusing on his breath. It's okay. And then he stopped his thoughts. Then he went to the fourth body, basically the science body, and he could find out what was already been there. It was there all along, right? And let's take Charles Goodyear. Right? Charles Goodyear wanted to make rubber very, very sturdy. He wanted to make sure that rubber withstands the extreme colds, extreme heat, basically everything that we have today, our cars, our seals, the tires, all of them are made because of vulcanized rubber. So he tried a lot of things. So he basically mixed up turpentine with rubber. He tried putting different types of, other oils, fillers. He tried a lot of things. Somehow didn't work. But one fine day, he left a little bit of sulfur, which actually got combined with the rubber, and vulcanized rubber was born. And someone came up to him and asked him, Gudya, I mean, is it just serendipity? It's just pure luck. He said, no, it's not just luck. Luck comes to those who are prepared, right? So the whole idea of innovation has got a very, very subtle and very strong basis in going beyond our conditioning and our thoughts. So when you're constrained by our conditioning, innovation does not happen. Right? When we think this is how a particular thing has to be done, unfortunately, that becomes a block unto itself. It does not allow us to go beyond what has to be done and what is possible. The other aspect of innovation, you got to focus on the RAM, not on the ROM. Unfortunately, today most of our system of learning, it focuses too much on what we know. So the more a guy knows, the more a person knows, it is construed that he's very, very smart. Not true. It's like saying, I have a brilliant hard disk in my computer, but I don't have RAM. What happens? The information just cannot be processed. Today you have multiple ways of understanding this information. You have information from Wikipedia, you have Google. You can just Google it and you can get whatever you want. But will that lead to innovation? Absolutely not. Then in that case, Google must have been the best innovation scientist on earth because Google apparently knows everything. But that's not true. So what is required is to keep your RAM absolutely clean. Which means that the more you're able to process, you're able to put in and then process it, you have enough space to process it, that makes space for innovation. So then it brings us to the next feature of innovation. How do you innovate? How does it happen? What is the exact mechanism of innovation? So the way in which we have been innovating, we've seen our people innovate, is to create the future first in your mind. Right? So what I mean by saying create the future first in your mind is to have multiple versions of it. So let's take an example, an aeroplane. You don't create multiple versions of the aeroplane and try and fly it, right? You probably end up killing most of the pilots. So what you do is you run something called as a simulation. And the simulation actually makes an aeroplane, puts it through multiple sets of aerodynamics. And then at one point in time, when you know it's fit enough to fly, you make a prototype and then you fly it. So similarly for innovation, the idea is to create as many prototypes in your mind as possible. And then challenge your prototypes yourself. Destroy the prototype. See what are the points of failure. And do it again and again till you're 100% accurate and you're sure that whatever you have created is something that will actually work in real life. And finally, the confluence of thought and action. I would like to very quickly touch upon my own experience. A few years back, I was talking to some of my co-directors, and we wanted to bring in a very innovative air conditioning system. So this air conditioning system works on the principle of basically using using water to cool the air. It's been done all the way, right? Always it's been done. So you basically spray water into dry air and it cools the air. That's what's being done. You go to Delhi, you go to any dry part of the country or the world, you have these large desert coolers that basically humidify the air. And when the air gets humidified, it automatically absorbs the surrounding heat and you have a cooler. The idea was to use desiccants. Desiccants are basically chemicals that can absorb the moisture from the air. So the idea was to use desiccants to dehumidify the air and then rehumidify it using water. So you basically have a very, very cheap and very efficient air conditioning system, and regeneration of the desiccants could be done using solar, or it could be done using parabolics or anything of that sort. So this was an idea that kept running in our heads, and we just kept thinking about it. We did nothing about it. 2 years down the line, we saw that a patent has been filed for the exact same idea, and they called it DVAP, desiccant-powered evaporative cooling, which probably uses only 20% of the energy that your traditional direct expansion chillers use. This taught me a very, very important lesson. I mean, this is not the only one, but this taught me a very important lesson. And I also have formulated a hypothesis that an idea never occurs to just one person. It always occurs to a group of people, right? I'm a strong believer in the collective mind. So the person who is successful is the person who acts on that idea and does not wait sitting around that something is going to happen to this idea. Another example, I was looking at all of these taxi aggregators, and I came upon an idea that why should someone else fix the fares? What if we allowed the taxi guys to fix the fares themselves and made it something like a, what do you say, it's mini auction for someone who wants to ride with that taxi for that particular price. We're talking about it, and last year a company in Bangalore launched the same thing. So it just goes to prove that nobody is the owner of ideas. Innovation is not anybody's exclusive prerogative. It is something that happens across the world, and the person who acts on it actually wins. So let me also put a thought into you as to what we did at Bookwater. In 2019, we had a severe drought, and the kind of water that we were getting in Chennai, in different parts of India was, A, the quality was terrible, and B, we also had a lot of issues with as far as drinking water quality is concerned. And even today, you go pick up any small bubble top that you have, the 20-liter containers that you have, you get these dirty, crushed, and badly damaged containers. You have absolutely no idea, I mean, what's inside it. Do you have good quality water? Is it water just spilled out of a tap? There's absolutely no idea. Nobody has any idea about it. So we came up upon this idea from Bookwater, where we created the world's first connected can, where this can actually is a can that's capable of being tracked throughout the supply chain. It's used only 30 times. We upcycle it into garments after every 30 uses, into t-shirts basically after every 30 uses. A user can scan the can and then figure out what is the quality of water that's inside, how many times the can has been used, and when it is going to be disposed. So this again was an idea that we came upon, but acting on what my previous failures, we decided to just do it, and that's how Bookwater was born. So my thought around this is, all of us have the potential. All of us have the potential to innovate, to grow, to become something that we don't think that we can become, but we just got to keep our minds clear, and we got to just do it. So I'd like to finish by saying, lose it to use it. Thank you.